Hello, this is Sergio Melendez. I am an enrolled agent, Juris Doctorate, and IRS tax expert. What I want to talk to you today about is filling out a brand new W-4 form for you to submit to your employer. The W-4 form plays a very crucial part in how much taxes are taken out. So if they take out too little throughout the year, when you file your income taxes, you're going to be slammed with a bill at tax time. But if you over withhold and they withhold too much throughout the tax year, that means you probably could be doing other stuff with that money except prepaying your taxes. So with this form, the way it breaks it down, you can be filling this out step by step to make sure that it's not too much and it's not too little, and at tax time you're going to be just A-okay. So this is the W-4 for the employee withholding certificate. Now, once you fill this out, of course, it goes back to your employer so they could just have the appropriate withholding on your paycheck. Let's go ahead and begin with step number one here. It's just all about your personal information. So parts A and B are just straight up your first name, last name, social security number, and your address. Step C here, this is the part that you would want to change or fill out if you had a life event throughout the year or upon the new job, just so it could reflect accurately your current situation, which the first category is if you're a single person, no dependents, or you're married filing separately. The second option would be if you're married filing jointly, or if you're a qualifying widower. And the last part is if you are a head of household. Head of household is a single person, however, they have a qualifying dependent where they pay more than half the cost of keeping up a home. So make sure that if something does occur throughout the year, should you go through divorce, get separated, you would, prior to this, probably you would have it as married filing separate, married filing jointly, but you would want to go ahead and make the switch to married filing separately. Or if you had a life event, if you had a child that was born, but you're just unmarried, but that will be your dependent, then you go ahead and qualify for head of household. You can make those appropriate deductions throughout the year. Now, steps 2 to 4 are filled out only if they are applicable to you. So if you're in college, a high school student, and you really have no other life events, then you could just probably skip all the way at the end. And if you do so, then you could just skip all the way to the bottom, sign and date, and hand that in to your employer and fill it out. But if not, then you definitely want to consider steps 2, 3, and 4. Steps 2 apply to anybody with multiple jobs, or if they're married and a spouse also works. Step 3 is filled out for those that claim dependents. And step 4 are for other adjustments. And this is for people with other types of income, other type of deduction like homeowner deductions, or if you just are high earner and you want some extra withholding, that's when you would fill out steps 2, 3, and 4. But if not, go ahead and skip. Now on to step 2 of the W-4. So this is applicable to those with multiple jobs, or you work and your spouse works as well. Um, so it asks you right here to do one of the following. So I'll get the easiest one out of the way first, and that is for it's step C. So if you have 2 jobs and both jobs pay equivalent, very similar, mark this box and you're done. And if you have nothing else going on, you could go ahead and sign and date this form, turn it into your employer, or fill it out through their portal if they have one with the HR or payroll department. But that's only with similar jobs if both are equal pay. But if not, you're going to have to go ahead and do either A or B. A requires you to go directly with the IRS and do the withholding steps with them directly. I will not be discussing that part. I will discuss option B, which is to use the multiple jobs worksheet, which is located on page 3, and we're going to enter the results in step 4 below. So that's the 2-step process. All right, so let's get into a hypothetical here. And the first step is we got to go to page 3. So that's where we're going to go right now, page 3. And we're right here. We're on page 3. Okay, so right here, if you have 2 jobs or you're going to be filing married filing joint, we have to go to page 4. Let me see if I can clear this up. And we have to use first the higher paying job row, and then the lower paying job column, and then the results are going to be typed in here. So let's go ahead and go to page 4, which is here. I'm going to go ahead and use the highlighter. So in my hypothetical here, let's say job number 1, I'll put this down here. It's for reference. Job number 1 pays $100,000. That's one extra zero. Okay. And let's say job number 2 pays us $25,000. And we are married filing joint. So on the higher paying job first, we're going to go to the $100,000 mark. I'm going to just, to show you how this thing works, most tables, I'm going to highlight across here. And the second job pays us right here, $25,000. So it's under this column here. And the number that intersects both is $5,900. So the $5,900 is the number that we're going to go ahead and place back on page 3 and keep following the formula. So on page 3 is item number 1 is $5,900. And step 2 is skip, and it tells you skip to line 3. So now we're going to go to line 3, and it says enter the number of pay periods per year for the highest paying job. So if the highest paid job pays you on a weekly basis, we're going to enter 52 here. If it pays you every other week, it's 26. Every other week means you're bi-monthly. But if it also says etc. So let's say you're on a steady paycheck of the 5th and the 15th of every month, which is semi-monthly, is just twice a month, then that would be 24. So whatever your pay period is, go ahead and enter the amounts right here. Let's go ahead. We have a semi-monthly payroll, and it's 24. Then we go to line number 4. It says divide the annual amount on line 1 or 2C by the number of pay periods. So we're going to go ahead and do, let me get my calculator out, and we're going to do $5,900 divided by 24. That give us 240, and we're just going to round it, which is $245.83. And this number here, we are now, per the instruction says, we're going to answer this in step 4C back on page 1 on the actual W4 form. So we're going to go back to 4C, and it goes here. And this marks the final part of step number 2. Okay, so this brings us to step number 3, and this is for those that claim dependents. So this is actually one of the shortest steps here. So if you are a single guy or a single person and you have under $200,000 or less of income, it would be $400,000 or less for married filing joint tax filers. You would multiply the number of qualifying children under the age of 17 by $2,000. So if you have, a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, you would multiply $2,000 times 2, and you just write the amount in here. There are other type of dependents. Those are those that are over 17. You're still claiming them on the taxes, such as an 18-year-old would qualify them automatically without the necessary step of them being in school. But if they are between 19 and 23, they will need to be some kind of full-time student. And if you are claiming any other type of dependents, let's say if you have a 19-year-old as a full-time student, You would put at least 1 times 500, and you would add the total amount on the final line. And you are done with step number 3. Now we are almost done with the form, brings us to step number 4. This step is optional. It's basically meant for those that are homeowners and you have itemized deductions on the tax return, such as mortgage interest, state and local taxes, charitable contributions. So this one here on 4A for I'm sorry, before we get to deductions on 4A would be certain type of income where there are no taxes being withheld, such as you earn interest from a bank or you get some kind of dividends or retirement income. Generally here you would want to list that type of income since it is not taxed, or there's no withholding. You want to go ahead and put that income on here. So if you get dividends of $5,000, you want to go ahead and write that number in there. On 4B would be deductions. These type of deductions are those that are homeowners. You claim mortgage interest, charitable deductions, certain medical expenses if they hit the tax return. You at least want to go through the deduction worksheet, and let's go ahead and fill that out. Now we have to go back to page number 3 and the result we're going to answer here on 4B. So let's go ahead and skip to page number 3, the deductions worksheet. Okay. So right now this is an estimate of the 2020 deductions. So you could probably take a look at comparable how you itemize deductions for 2019 on Schedule A, and that's where it have the majority of deductions on there. But on our hypothetical, I'll just type out the line by line items that we're going to deduct here, and we're going to total on line number 1. So let's say that you have mortgage interest and you pay $25,000 a year. And in addition to that, you pay state and local taxes. And let's say the total amount is, you're capped at the maximum of $10,000. And let's see, you also have some charitable deductions. And that's it's only $2,000. So between the $25,000, the $10,000, and the $2,000 for charitable deductions, that gives a grand total of $37,000. On line number 2, you enter one of the following. Now these are for the standard deductions. So our hypothetical is for a married filing joint couple, so it'd be $24,800. Line number 3, if line 2 is, line 1 is greater than line 2, subtract. So when we subtract, would give us $12,200. However, if let's say it's the opposite, let's say line 1 is only $17,000, then line 2 would be greater. Line 2 would be greater. So line 3 you would enter 0. And then for line number 4 is you have to enter an estimate of how much student loan interest payments that you are making, or if you have a deductible IRA contribution, or if you have any other type of adjustments here. Typically, you want to review from your prior year tax return, Schedule 1 from the 1040. But let's say we just have, the only thing we have applicable to us is $2,000 of student loan interest we are paying. So that brings this total to $14,200. And this total amount, we have to put this amount back on page 1 in step 4B. So we're going to go back to page 1, step 4B, and that would be it. We are now done with step number 4. The only item left is we have to turn this in to our employer. So you just have to sign. Step 5 is sign. You sign the tax, you sign the W-4 and you date it. If it's not a physical form, most employers, they have an online portal where you have your employee management forms. Typically, you fill out this W-4, it's just an electronic version of it, but you would click and electronically sign it. And that way you're reflecting and you certify that it's under penalties of perjury, it's to the best of your knowledge, it's all true and correct and complete. And that would be it. Now you are all done and have the appropriate withholding for your taxes when you file next year. So that concludes my step-by-step to the W-4 form. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I will reply back. And thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you want additional tax tips on anything tax related. Thanks.